your service on the battlefield and beyond. 3 Bravo.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Liam Kogan. This is 3 Bravo, and today we're going to be doing a military veteran news breakdown. This is coming maybe about a week late on some of this news, but a lot of things kind of had to get fleshed out from last week to this week, maybe even the week before they were really newsworthy. Yes, a lot of things are initially going to be headline worthy all of the time, immediately. However, it's way more interesting, in my opinion, to report on things as they actually build into something legitimate. So this week, I do want to just briefly talk about Soft Week. Soft Week happened about a few weeks ago, and something that Trump did that I think is absolutely fantastic. Trump is big in the office right now. He's doing a lot of crazy things, a lot of things that are changing the structure around veterans benefits, the structure around the military. So it all merits kind of like an eye to be put on it. So first things first, going into some policy benefits, legislation updates. Bill 69 I have to read this. Bill 693 of North Carolina Senate, line 29-31, a person seeking to receive compensation for advising, assisting, or consulting any individuals with any veterans benefits matter or engaging in the preparation of an initial claim for a fee shall not, and then it goes on to say, basically, they shall not do what is already in the federal mandate. So North Carolina put a bill into effect today that basically just outlined exactly what is already law. They called it this huge win for veterans benefits. It was really fucking stupid. I've seen people talk about it also in a way where it's like, this is really going to hurt veterans. Neither of those things are true. This really just upholds the status quo as it already exists. North Carolina, you had a really great opportunity to do something that really mattered for veterans, which would be eliminating sharks from being able to service initial claims. Okay. So the issue is always going to fall back to this. If you are not VA accredited and you are helping, coaching, advising, assisting, like what is exactly in this bill, someone with their initial VA claim, you are part of the problem. If you are going out there and you're getting a first claim done, remember this. And if you're talking to anyone, remember this. Like, if I could break down everything, there's so much to it, but if you break down everything, remember this. Do not pay for your initial VA claim. We can clean up everything else on the back end. Super complex issue, a lot going on with it. My company's helping with it. My nonprofit's helping with it. But really, the information stream that we have to support is that. Everyone should know that getting out of the military. That should be the headline of TAPS. TAPS, do not pay for your initial VA claim. But it isn't, and it supports a massive industry of scumbags. So, too bad, so sad, North Carolina, you absolutely blew it. And whoever patted you guys on the back saying you did something, you guys suck. You're part of the problem too. Just constantly pushing legislation that does absolutely nothing, calling it a major victory. So let's move on. So something that's amazing in the news. This is a big thing from Trump. Also, I mean, this is completely aside from the point. This is my personal opinion. The bill, what was it? It was part of a bill that just got shot down, or the whole bill itself, whatever, that was going to take 1.5 million acres of public lands back from the public in Utah and Nevada. That got shut down. That's huge. Love to see that. Those are our public lands. If you think we should be doing more mining and fracking on public lands, I totally disagree. There are so many places and ways to get more raw materials out of our country without taking over millions of acres for development and more exploitation of raw materials. And I say exploitation, I know that's going to be a buzzword for some of you people out there. I don't care. Like, just, move beyond words, okay? Move beyond them. Like saying DEI. Like, if you mention DEI or the word diversity, equity, or inclusion, if you say any of those words, now you're like a socialist, Marxist, leftist. They all have had meaning before they were held hostage. Just everyone let go of words. So the other thing, aside from the millions of acres that we saved from ourselves, 1.5 million, Trump is going to build a national center for homeless veterans with the funds that were previously spent on housing illegals. That is so awesome. And here's why, okay? Because maybe it doesn't work. Maybe in idea it's great. In execution, it's going to be very difficult, which it will. Listen, if you're putting a bunch of homeless veterans who also were trained by the military to be, lethal to whatever degree in one place, it's going to be a pretty dangerous and crazy place. So you better have some, basketball courts and some crazy things set up to have these people these homeless folks reintegrating. I would love to be a part of it, by the way. If anyone's out there who has connections to this, I would love to throw my 2 cents in or to use my nonprofit to help in some way. I think if this could be executed properly, it could be huge in our nation's founding of a responsible way to treat all homeless people. But I love that we're starting with veterans. Very cool. Now, if it's executed poorly, you're basically just making an insane prison where these people are wildly violent and going to, then the escalation of the management is going to, this could end poorly. However, if you think like the idea is that, oh, screw all these illegals and they're just giving it to all these lazy veterans, I don't know who out there could be mad about this. Bottom line is, like, if you're an illegal immigrant, you are here illegally. That's just the law. That's how it stands right now. If you want to change it, get out there and change it. Go do something. Don't complain and talk about it on Facebook. Go do something. You can. I bet most of you that complain about shit don't even contact your state senators, your state Congress. I bet you don't contact anyone, and you could send a letter and change a lot. So just know this. I'm fully behind it. I think execution is going to be key. I would love to put my 2 cents in and, let people know what I think homeless veterans need, because veterans have a very specific set of needs outside of the homeless theater. So awesome idea. Execution is going to be paramount. I'm very excited to see how this goes. The next thing I want to talk about, and this is going to go into your benefits, folks, and this is going to constantly, Michigan is going to be the first place where this happened. There's actually 2 bits of news from Michigan that I'm going to talk about, and I might just talk about them in quick succession, but Michigan is passing a bill as a state to raise hunting and fishing fees. They basically think it's a good time to raise fees, to make more money for their outdoor game, their outdoor benefits. Listen, this is going to be happening all over the place. Okay, folks, Michigan is the first of many. Michigan is, pretty liberal, I would say. And when that goes, a lot of other states are going to take notice. So this has gone into full effect. Pay attention to your veterans benefits. If you're a veteran out there, you should not be paying full price anyways. And when they raise those prices, you should feel good about your service and yourself that you get a discount even when the prices are coming up. Every state be on the lookout for this. If one of them does it, they're all going to do it. When they see somewhere where they can make money where they're not, they're going to save those dollars. So be prepared. I want to jump into something that Navy Federal is doing. And then, I mean, it's really kind of like almost not effective, but effective. If you're trying to build credit and you're getting into the military, and you have a Navy Federal bank account and you don't want to take out loans and do it the traditional way, you don't want to take out a credit card and do it the traditional way, and you'd like to do what my mom did and never spend $1 on an ounce of credit, that is totally fine. Probably a savvy, money managing scheme. Navy Federal is now letting you, through the use of Bloom Plus, use your utility bill, your rent, and I think it's 3 regular utility bills, so maybe your electric, water waste, whatever it's going to be, your Verizon or whatever phone utility bill, and your rent or your, it would be rent unless you bought your house cash, to build your credit. And Bloom Plus will basically store that and build up your personal credit, just saying that you can make all your payments on time, so you should have better credit score. Now, if you're going to do the normal military thing and buy a Mustang before you go on deployment, get a divorce while you're on deployment, forget that you're not on auto pay for your Mustang that you just bought on deployment at 29% interest, and then you find out that your credit score is 410 and now you have to pay alimony because your chick left you and she gets the Mustang. If you're going to do the normal military thing, just understand this. You should probably still sign up for the Bloom Plus thing because maybe you'll be paying some of those bills on time and balance out some of the stupid shit you're probably going to do in the future there. So look into it. If you have a Navy Federal account, it's going to be under the guise of Bloom Plus. I believe it's going to be on the app. You can certainly go down to your local bank and or call them and find out exactly how to get enrolled. But just remember, it is what it is. You should probably build your credit up because you're probably going to make a mistake in the future. We all do. I want to go into something that it has been back and forth in the news about Trump kind of just being like, this sinister man that we just is constantly in the news. He's accepting a plane. So this has been going back and forth as well. If they were like, they're making negotiations. And this is, it speaks to a wild lack of understanding of other cultures as well. Trump is accepting a jumbo jet or a jet to replace Air Force One from a Qatari prince, like a Saudi prince. So to understand that in full scope, okay, in Middle Eastern, like most Asian cultures, the art of the deal is deeply ingrained in who they are. So in the Middle Eastern culture, and I can speak to this, when you're making a deal, you have to like fully negotiate. Okay. So if they say like, hey, we'd like to give you a plane, you can't just say no. Because if you come in and you say no, it's disrespectful to them, and it's disrespectful and it lowers you in their estimation, right? So he maybe knows this. He likely knows this. So they have to come in and say things like, we're going to give you this plane in perpetuity or we're going to give you a plane. Like, we'll give you a plane. And he has to come back and say, I want a plane and this and this. And then they finally settle on the plane. That's like the normal degree of discourse. And if you don't do that, you are slighting both parties and or you are seeming weak. So, if you think you understand how every country and culture works, you very likely don't, unless you're really, really, really well read and you've gone all around the world and kind of experienced it. And even then, half the time you need someone who speaks the language and is from the culture to kind of explain to you what mistakes you're making. In this instance, I think it is a very solid move to make a very good deal with people who want to come to the table. Accepting this plane as a gift is going to open the door into negotiations, which it already has, and things have been going well in the Middle East because of that. Now, are they always going to be? No, that's not how things work. But it is how you do deals with Middle Eastern cultures, right? There's what's like called a peach cash, like an expected gift. And you really need to address that at the highest level with the president as well. Moving on from that, talking about Trump too much this week. The House has overwhelmingly passed the aviator cancer examination study, ACES. Okay. This is basically, this is Act HR 530 in the 119th Congress. This act is going to do a deep dive on military aviators, from air crewmen, pilots, working the jetway at, on the Truman, like everyone who is being exposed to jet fuel at all times. You are going to have, just like with the PACT Act, a way to file a claim and say, hey, I have this going on and I'm pretty sure it's service related, but I can't really pin it down, right? There are just way too many service members leaving the service with all kinds of crazy cancers because, we're all learning about microplastics and this and that and the other. I mean, just imagine being in the military when they don't care, when you're sucking in jet fuel and going into burn pits and doing some of the crazier things you can imagine. I mean, just breathing in Agent Orange. This is going to pave the way for a lot of folks who don't have disability to get into disability. If if your family member was a lifetime aviator and they're starting to have issues like that, that aren't marked into their DD-214 and they're not put into the I mean, I can think of a relative right now that, and they're not put into proper programs, and they're not put into the PACT Act, and they didn't get in other avenues. This is just building another avenue to say, hey, I've had pancreatic cancer twice. I was a lifelong aviator. I think this has something to do with it. And then you can kind of come into the VA, plead your case, and now there's like kind of this, I guess there's just a case to be made or a class action kind of deal there. So very good thing for aviators in the military. Very good thing for folks who have gotten out and have had issues. So in military and defense news, moving out of kind of like the veteran sphere, the Air Force is doing something that is completely and utterly unprecedented. They're moving away from chairs. Okay, so everybody in the military knows the Air Force is always called the chair force. And that's because, you know, like a shitload of the jobs in the Air Force are done from chairs. And that's not to say that there aren't tons of jobs done in every other service that are done from chairs. So check yourself, Navy, Marines, and Army, okay? You might be doing something in a chair for a long time during the day. I'm in a chair right now. But here's the deal. There's a lot of Air Force jobs coming from the chair, and they have a really, really awesome lifestyle there. I mean, great gyms, great chow, great barracks, you know. So we're all a little bit jealous and pissed off. Now, the chair force is getting serious right now. Okay, with the change in administration, the change in the powers that be, the chair force is going. I'll start saying Air Force again here in a minute, but they're going into basically what is their basic military training and rewriting it, and they're removing a lot of classroom time and moving towards PT and live action drilling, which would look a lot more like down man drills, getting outside, doing combatives, going for runs, going and just doing more PT. Fantastic. You know, if you have anything to say about that other than that's great, that's what the military's for, I think you're a brainwashed little turd as well. The military is not the country's, you know, central place for social and economic and whatever kind of idealism. It's completely about functionality and lethality. That is the point of the military. If you start doing other shit to it, you're wrong. So I think DEI has its place in certain areas. I don't think it's forever going to be a necessary forced function. I don't think you force things like DEI. If your company wants to explore it, go ahead. But if you're going to force something, you're wrong. That's just not how this country is supposed to work. We should be doing less litigating, less laws, and we should be doing more personal exploration. This thing works the best. This company's doing the best. More of a Darwinian approach. And in the military, there is absolutely no place for PowerPoints and DEI over combat readiness. Okay. I experienced this shit while I was still in. Every single thing that has ever had to do with the DEI initiative comes from a fucking PowerPoint, a sit down, a classroom thing. Whereas, I don't know, we should probably be outside training, getting hands-on with the weapons, doing more physical work, because that is exactly what we are for. Moving on. I'm gonna gloss over this real fast. I'll mention it. Listen, the military is so stupid. We built all these ICBM silos, so intercontinental ballistic missiles. They're an important thing. We're building the Golden Dome now, as you've probably heard Trump say. That basically just means, you know, Israel has this Iron Dome. We're going to build the Golden Dome of just missile defense, which is great. Intercontinental ballistic missiles are terrifying. They're basically teleporting missiles moving at hypersonic speeds, faster than the speed of sound, which is scary. And they can have nuclear warheads on them. So the missile defense is important. However, we're finding out that our missile silos that we designed back in the frickin' 60s, which we designed to just be like, hey, this is how it's going to be forever. And we made a ton of them. All need to be replaced, shockingly enough. So if you're figuring out what the contract world of the military is like, someone will tell you who's in the military, no, we built that to stay forever. They're wrong, not you. Continue improving things, continue inventing. The military will always be wrong when they think they can just have something for a very long period of time. It all just stems from one guy being a part of one decision and having to defend it until he retires. or else he won't get the promotion that he wanted. So I think the Marines are doing something cool here. I think it might be kind of stupid, but it is kind of sick. They're pushing to have their drones have bayonets on them. So if you aren't aware what a bayonet is a fixed knife, a fixed blade at the end of your firearm, because back in the day you'd have to fire your way up to a trench and then you get into the trenches and your gun is kind of long. They didn't have pistols on every guy. You got your rifle. You're going for the bayonet kill. Pretty sick. And, you know, in many other battlefields before, like the World War II era and trench warfare, they still used bayonets in Vietnam for, you know, guerrilla warfare. Here's the thing, though. We haven't used them in a long time unless you're a Marine. And if you're a Marine, you know how, like, sweet it is, but it's also kind of silly because that's just not what we do these days. You know, you can count on your hand how many dudes have been in, like, a knife fight in modern times because it just doesn't happen very frequently. And we're not always going for a knife. We're usually going for a pistol. And if your pistol goes down and you go for a knife, the degree of knife training that you need to fight with a knife is like, sure, you could train your whole life for it, or you could have just trained or transitioned your pistol faster. There's a lot of things that move around being an operator and being efficient in what versus what. Knife fighting is not something we particularly spend hours and hours and hours on. But the Marines want to put bayonets on drones. They're saying that listen, there's a whole write-up to say why to do it, and then at the very end, and it's like, and it would also be demoralizing to the enemy. And it's like, yeah, it would be demoralizing. The only reason to have a drone that doesn't blow up or shoot something like a projectile and or have a blasting cap on it, for which you would not hurt anyone in the surrounding area, you would just kill the single person. Like, explosives are wildly accurate. To have a bayonet on it, it's all about demoralizing the enemy because that's so scary. I'm not sure if anybody else watches as many drone attack videos as I do, just to kind of like, I don't know, stay fresh. It's horrifying. It's like a little buzzing thing, and then you see it, and every dude just gives up. You know, like every guy who sees one's like, all right, I'm tired of fighting. I guess you just blow me up with your stupid bitch-made camera that you just drove over here, you wiener. You know, dudes being tough, roughing it out in the trenches, getting blown up by some guy who's warm and safe inside of a little, like, command and control center. Pretty lame. But if you had a knife on it, at least you could fight it. I mean, that's pretty crazy. I don't know. I mean, listen, I could hear about use cases for a bayonet all day. I mean, fuck it, dude. Cover it in knives. Just cover it in knives so they can't grab it or something. I don't know. Do whatever you want. It's sweet. Moving on, the Houthis have conceded defeat. We probably all saw this coming, that the Houthis weren't going to be a huge issue for the might of the U.S. military, and they weren't. You know, thank God we didn't have to dump many more jets into the ocean or shoot them down ourselves to get it done. But we got away with, you know, only a small amount of disgrace and dishonor. If you're not aware, Lisa Franchetti was the former commandant of the Navy. She was the highest-ranking naval officer, and she basically was forced retired in disgrace because her entire tenure was really focused on DEI. And you know, a lot of this shit is like, I don't know how much it is on them as opposed to, are you willing to get fired to stand up for what you believe in? And basically every naval officer and every officer in general, like there's just so few that are willing to get fired to stand up for what they believe in, unless the opposition party, they already have like a guaranteed job with them. So it's just super insidious at the highest levels. And some people have the best of the best in mind, but they're usually working in the background because they still want to stay lethal. They still want to stay part of the force. But here's what I want to say is that Lisa Franchetti was ignominiously force resigned by the Trump administration. I'm not a huge fan of hers either. It seemed like she spent a lot of time not focusing on the lethality in the Navy. And now we have a bunch of naval mishaps, right? Like we're losing planes. We're shooting our own planes down. Super embarrassing. Needed a tighter grip on the reality of what the force is, right? I love that she did a lot of PR and went and met people, and she seems like a nice lady. However, that's not what you signed up for. You signed up for, you know, dog shit, getting beat up and working really hard. And that's not what that is. And to me, you see the end state, right? Where the Navy is failing in a large capacity. Now, here's what I have to say that's good about her. She was fired and she was given the opportunity to basically light Trump up. She is working with another former admiral to build a program to elevate ROTC, to get kids still involved in the military, to continue generating good officers. And as she was doing it, someone asked her about the current administration and how they're doing this and how they're doing that. And she basically said, I have nothing to say. That's, the president's going to do what they do. And then moved on and started talking about her own stuff. Way to handle it with grace, Lisa. Very, very solid move. Super respectable. I wish more people would not take the bait and just go off on their political opponents and just move on. You know what I mean? Because no one really, really wants to hear the opinion they know you have. Just move on. Tell us what you're up to now, why you're relevant, why you're, good to go. So here's something I want to talk about. Haven't done an insane amount of research into it, but I've heard a few things floating around on the Sean and Ryan podcast, the Chinese are already mining lithium on the dark side of the moon. I'm not sure that can be verified. However, mining lithium on the moon is something that we have goals on right now. And being on the dark side of the moon, from what I understood a few years ago, was physically impossible just to be on it for long periods of time because of how cold it is. So that all aside of basically what China is doing right now, which is let's just China this, China that, what are they actually doing? We don't really know. But the Space Force is testing thrusters for moon surveillance spacecraft. So that's tight. I think a lot of us grew up in this period where you have Star Wars and all these outer space movies where it's you want to get involved more intimately in space and go out there and fight. You watch Interstellar and it seems amazing to just go have that experience, right? You want to just get sucked into a black hole and see what it's like. Or maybe I'm alone on that. And listen, if you know me, I want to get in a Gundam. I'm not going to say it again. I'm not going to get too far into it. However, if we know anybody, just send them my number, send them my information. I'll get in it. I'll test drive it. I don't care how dangerous it is. Getting away from that, you got Space Force building what is going to be the first space aircraft carrier. Sick. You have them wanting to put surveillance on the moon. Sick, because it's been there a long time. What's it up to? You ever wonder that? Why is it just hanging around up there? So let's put some surveillance on it. It's definitely worth a go. I mean, I think that's fucking awesome. It just seems like space is turning into this theater where it's getting a little more aggressive. We can't really handle full on aggression up there yet, but it's yeah, we're going to put surveillance on that. You know what I mean? We can't shoot anything at anything yet, but we're going to watch stuff. I'm into it. It sounds sick. Moving into the Army and new shit. This is always going to cover new shit because it's the news. You understand? You understand where that word comes from? News. Bet you never thought of that. The Army is testing out, I think with the 101st Airborne or someone akin to it. So there's SIG sells the MCX Spear. The Army is buying the XM7 built by SIG, which is basically the Army variant. It's solely for the Army. It's chambered in 6.1 by 5.1 millimeters. So it is a bigger and more lethal round than 5.56 and 7.62. So you're talking a very big round in an assault rifle, which means less magazine capacity, which means less rounds going out the door, which I'm feeling a lot of people are going to have a lot of issues with, right? I mean, I didn't see anything that spoke to its capacity exactly, but I mean, when you're rolling out the door with a 7.62 as opposed to a 5.56, you even feel that okay, well, if we get into a tick, I've got 10 mags on me if you're doing anything for real. And if you got 10 mags of 7.62, you feel that weight, one. And then two, you have less rounds than everybody else rolling out with tons of rounds of 5.56, which, in in a firefight, a lot of what you're doing is suppressive fire. And so suppressive fire is yeah, I'm putting effective rounds on target. How effective they are. Like, I'm not waiting for someone to peek their little head up while I got my little noggin poking out. Like, you're shooting suppressive fire, shooting, moving, communicating. So having less rounds is a monster of an issue. I don't know if that's very well thought through, maybe extended mags. I don't know how you solve that problem if they're really going to move to the 6.8 by 5.1, but it is what it is. I wonder if whoever made this deal is getting paid a lot of money by SIG, because SIG is also going to be building the 6.8 by 5.1 round. So that's theirs as well. They're also going to be putting in a new saw. So the Army uses a saw, which for, us Navy soft guys, it's a 46 or a 48. And we have one chambered in 5.56, which sounds like a little pea shooter of a machine gun. And then you have the one that's chambered in 7.62. Did I say something different a second ago? 5.56 and 7.62. Did I say 48? I don't know. It's a Mark 48 chambered in 7.62. The Mark 48, when you start laying it down on that thing, you're like, oh yeah, like this is legitimate. This is the real deal. And so having the Army set up for the MCX Spear, which looks like a sweet gun, I might just go buy one just to see what it's like. I don't know if I can get it chambered in 6.8 by 5.1. Maybe someone can tell me that. But it's legit. You have a lot more accuracy downrange. You have a lot more penetration for Gen 3 armor, and steel as well. It's a legit round. Nobody's debating that. However, the debate between 5.56 and 7.62 kind of seems unfinished. We've been talking about this for years. If we're going to switch from, Daniel Defense M4s to SCARs, I just don't know if that issue is settled enough to say, yeah, we're not going to go with a 7.62. We're going to go bigger. If you can get, I don't know how many rounds in the mag can really, we're going from 5.56, 30 plus 1, so maybe 26 would be acceptable if you're, really, you got a big round in there. And I don't know if they're going to use it as a DMR. It says it's a replacement for the M4. So I don't know if guys are going to like that, if the operator's going to like that. Doing house clearance and maybe some like other static kind of, well, not static, but what I'm really saying is like getting into a tick in a city or some serious land warfare type movements. I'm not sure you're going to want less rounds. Really, that's what it's going to boil down to. Is I don't think you're going to want less rounds in your primary, and I think the saw is going to be totally squared away. Like having 6.8, like bigger, more effective rounds in your saw, especially if the Army guys are moving from a 5.56 platform to the 6.8, like way better. Ask anyone, like we had the 5.56 platform and the only dudes who wanted to use it were weak because it was light. Everyone wanted to go for the 48 because it was beefy. It was heavy. It laid down serious suppressive fire. It sounded fucking scary. So I don't know about this move to the 6.8 MX7. Is it the MX7? Yeah, XM7, 6.8 by 5.1 XM7. I definitely think Sig Sauer's happy about it, and whichever PME tested that thing and said and got the deal done. I'm sure they're going to be working. Just watch this. Whoever signed this deal, like whichever Navy officer signed for this deal and got it all done, that dude's going to be working at Sig in 2 years. Watch. Moving on to that little bit of Michigan news I was talking about a little bit earlier. So there is a Michigander by the name of Amar Abdul Majid Mohammed Saeed of Melvindale, Michigan. Basically planned a terrorist plot on a base in Michigan, was caught. He's tied to ISIS. And listen, when this happened at the beginning of the year, I said it's not going to be the last time. That this is the plan. This is the Muslim way. Okay. If you don't understand this as an American, it's not that they hate Western culture. They hate American culture most. Literally, if they had UK people, all right. Canadians, okay. Americans hate. Just seriously, we have been teed up to be the center of their ire. So ISIS hates us. It's not other people are part of the agenda, right? They're side quests. We are the main quest. So this kind of stuff is going to keep happening. And if you're in Michigan in the Dearborn area, I don't know if you didn't know this, you probably do, but I believe Dearborn, Michigan is like 68% Muslim. It is the first city in America that is predominantly Muslim. And listen, at the end of the day, these people don't like you. So that everyone can integrate properly into society well enough, it takes one person to blow up a tower. It takes one person to plan and execute a base attack. That's all there is to it, right? Like you can have 99% of the culture is fine, and then 1% is like so not fine that they're trying to blow you up all the time, and you're going to be pretty worried about the 1%, and it's going to make you look at the other 99. Unfortunately, that's the status quo. Muslim people of Michigan, Dearborn area, perhaps you would like to look into that and handle your own business. So there's also a little bit of news. The National Guard Helo crew, and this is tiny. This is stupid. Shouldn't even talk about it, but I'm gonna. A National Guard Helo crew trespassed on private Montana ranch country to take shed antlers. I mean, those must have been the best shed antlers of all time. What is the National Guard up to? I mean, really, like, you guys are so lackadaisical that you're landing helos on private property to get shed antlers. Jesus. Rein it in, bro. Rein it in. The new Army fitness test is moving towards what SOF operations have already been doing. SOF tests have already moved in this direction. I don't know, 9 years ago, 10 years ago. So I'm glad to see the rest of the military kind of catching up. It's a better test of physical capability where you have, like, especially in like the Marine, like infantry Marines, infantry Army, like you have these guys who are super jacked because that's what they idolize in their platoon, or that's what they want to do. You got 20-year-old dudes. They just want to get huge. You know, they're out of high school. They're eating good. They got their own money so they can pay for protein and all this crap and gym clothes. They want to get hit. I mean, dudes want to get big. Some dudes just want to get big. A lot of infantry dudes want to get big. I wanted to get big really bad. Now the biggest I've ever been, and all I do is run. So just word of the wise, young men, when you get huge, you kind of just like continue to be huge forever. But the new Army fitness test is a 3-rep max deadlift, hand release push-ups, sprint drag carry, which is 5 rounds of a 50-meter shuttle sprint, kettlebell, buddy carry, dragging something, and then a sprint again. Is that it? No, and then there's a plank and a 2-mile run. This is way more legit. It's a good test of your physicality. If you can lift stuff, you can carry stuff. Listen, if you're in great shape and you can run forever, that should no longer be the single moniker of success for a military man. Because if you can't pick someone up and run with them too, I don't give a shit if you can run a really long time or really, really fast, right? I don't want your 2-mile to be super fast. I want your mile with me on your back to be fast. I'm going to weigh a lot. So I think this is a good way to start judging the military, especially if you're not like looking at, I mean, really, you know, this is going to affect the bigger guys. The bigger guys are going to do better on their tests, and the smaller guys aren't going to do as well as they used to, or they'll do fine. I mean, if you're a smaller dude, you can still be made of iron and really strong. And maybe this will, you know, change the way the regular military looks at good push-ups, because God bless, do I see regular military units doing some of the worst push-ups I've ever seen in my life. So hand release push-ups, great workout. And then the last thing I want to sign off with. So we're going through this time of turmoil in the military, and people, well, it's not really turmoil, but it's change, right? It's like big change. I don't know why I said turmoil. It's not turmoil, it's change. We're going through a lot of change, and you have a lot of people just really heartbroken about transgender people getting the boot. Okay. And, you know, I read this article from the CO Springs Gazette, and it was just a heart-wrenching piece about a transgender soldier forcibly removed from the military service. Listen, this is not the hill to die on. The military is not for testing social shit. Now, you can say whatever you want about it's science, it's this, it's not this, it's this. This is for everyone, both sides of the aisle. If you ever catch yourself saying two things, it's science or it's not science, shut up, okay? The first rule of science is to say, this is a theory. to always be questioned. To always be questioned. Just because there's a bunch of evidence leading you one way, if you're a good scientist, you know that's probably what I should believe. However, if there's evidence pointing the other way, that's fine too. You're supposed to do your own research. You're supposed to read every paper. That's why there's a peer review process. There is a reason that people peer review papers, because we need fidelity on if things are valid or not. And half the time, even when it's peer reviewed, no matter what you believe, someone had to pay for it. And the person who had to pay for it had to have money. And if they had money and they paid for the science, they probably had an agenda. So listen, leave science and social bullshit out of it. If there is a political eye on the thing, right, that we're talking about, so whatever it is, if it's DEI, if it's the Second Amendment, if there is a political eye on it, whatever it is, it's political, okay? It's not just science. It's political. And politics and social bullshit have no place in the military. The military serves a single purpose. Okay? A single purpose. That's it. It is not for other shit. It is not for you to feel bad for other people about. You join, you sign the dotted line, you have one purpose, and if you can't fulfill it, get out of the way. Those are my closing words. I hope we all can find solace in the fact that the military is becoming more lethal, and that is exactly what it's supposed to do. I'm Liam Cogan. This is the 3 Bravo podcast with a military veterans weekly news update. Catch y'all next time. Oh, and happy Memorial Day.